I need a new passport holder, so I'm going to use my old one as a template to make a new one for myself. Let's get into what we need. I used a 3 to 4 ounce designer side here in green. I got this from Tandy Leather. I bought this on sale around Thanksgiving, so this was about half the price for a half side. Using a rotary cutter, a ruler, some binder clips to hold my project together, my scratch awl, my diamond chisels, my edge beveler, a stitch marker, my token awl, some leather conditioner, something to do my embossing, thread, needle, and cutting board. I'm using my scratch awl to roughly sketch out my passport holder outer dimensions. I'm roughly cutting around the edge, and then I'll go in and do a detailed cut around where I marked to get exactly what I need. Forgot to mention that I'm working on the inside or the flesh side of the leather, and the scratch awl is just going to make a mark on the inside of the leather without really making a mark like a pen or a pencil would. Now I'm cutting out the inside pockets of the passport holder. Now that we have more manageable small pieces, we're going to go in and refine the cuts to get exactly the dimensions of the passport holder. I wanted an inside pocket for a card, so I went in and cut a little piece to hold a card as well. Here you'll see that now the pieces that I've cut out match the dimensions of the passport holder pretty closely. I like to use double-sided tape made for leather projects to hold the sides of the leather together as you pre-punch the holes for stitching. You have to pre-punch holes into your leather projects before stitching because the leather is too thick for your needles to go through. You have a few options for the chisels to get your holes, and each of them can give you different effects. I'm gonna go with my diamond chisel for this project. I like to punch about 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch in, and you can use your stitch marker to help you draw the lines to be a guide. You can see me doing that here. I told you my cutting skills still aren't very good, but we can clean up those edges at the very end after we've done the stitching. My general rule is to cut thread that's about 6 times the length of the area you're trying to stitch. You're going to need 2 needles to saddle stitch. I'm using my stitching horse here, but I'll also show you an alternate method to do your saddle stitching. I start about 3 holes in and back stitch 2 stitches to cover the tension points, so to give our project more longevity at the edge. There are great tutorials on YouTube on how to properly saddle stitch, so take a look at those before starting a project. With leather at this thickness, you do have to be careful that you don't pull too tight, so until you feel resistance, but do not over tighten. After you're done stitching, you'll just pull the threads through to the front and cut it off, and now we're going to burn it down and press down with our fingers to seal the threads. To the other side, I've marked my stitches with my stitch marker, and I'm going to punch those holes in. For the side with the pocket, we're actually going to start at the very top and work our way down. If you don't have your stitching horse, you can just hold your project between your knees, and you have a little bit more control this way as you try to stitch your project. I did the same thing here. I started 3 holes in, back stitched, and now I'm going to saddle stitch all the way to the other side. As you near your pocket, just make sure to stitch through, attaching the pocket to the second layer. I'm now done with the basic construction of the passport holder, and what I'm going to do next is to level out those edges and get them more clean looking. I'm using an edge beveler here, but you don't have to use this. I'm only using this because it was really bad on that corner. Usually I'll just use a nail file to sand all the sides of the leather down so that everything is even on all sides. Next, let's use some toconal to burnish those edges. You do that by taking a little bit, putting it on the edge of your project, and using your burnishing tool to get the edges of the leather laid down really well. You really don't have to do this, but I used a little bit of edge coat on the edges. I was just trying something new and it turned out okay. I used a wood dabbler and a Q-tip to see which one works best, and I would say that I liked using the Q-tip just a little bit more. It gave me a little bit more control and got that edge paint on there. You can use an embossing set to add initials to your project. Again, you don't have to do this, but it adds a nice touch. Guys, that's it. We are done. This project took me a few hours only because I'm still learning, so I had a lot of cleanup to do along the way. I'm really happy with how this turned out, and I hope you give it a shot and let me know the results.